The final score, Wrexham 1, Birmingham City 1. Ooh, that was a game, wasn't it? Wowee. Two very high-quality sides going at it and showing why we're at the top of the table. And a big moment for Wrexham as well, to be honest, because after that game at St Andrews, they looked Birmingham like the one side who have actually got a bit extra level of quality than us. They really dominated us. And it was brilliant to see Wrexham come back and at the racecourse, where, of course, we do quite like playing, putting in a performance which, gosh, really illustrated we can live with a side with that level of quality. I mean, this is a game Wrexham will feel should have won. Certainly the second half was one-sided. It was us at our best at the racecourse, but we couldn't break down Birmingham's defence, partly because they defended well, partly because a little bit of misfortune, and partly because of a couple of good saves. And that's a hell of a compliment to Wrexham that we're able to do that to the team of Birmingham's quality. And for me, I think the key measure of this was we deserved to win it, but Birmingham turned up. Birmingham turned up and showed why they are such a good team. But we were able to get on top of them. So there were changes from the disappointing defeat at Shrewsbury. Palmer playing up front with Elliott Lee playing off him. Also, we had Dan Scarr coming in the centre of midfield, replacing Owen O'Connell. And in midfield, interesting configuration with Rathbone and Dobson playing ahead of James with the energetic trio. James McLean was okay to play after his car accident the day before. And we started okay, but Birmingham, I thought in the early stages, their movement was really good. They were finding space. They maybe surprised us a little by playing Lyndon Dykes off the front, and he was finding space between the lines. He and Stansfield and May and Wright were, posing us an issue. So Birmingham controlling possession, moving it around well. The front three pinning our back three, and Dykes just drifting between the lines. So, we had difficulty getting our wing-backs up the pitch because they had to cover the centre-backs. We had difficulty getting our midfielders up the pitch because Dykes had to be watched. And much as we tried to pose questions of Birmingham, there was always that threat that we would be caught on the counter. And Birmingham protected the ball very well, so they had the majority of possession. I've got to be honest, I think we were a bit lucky. 4th minute, I think Birmingham should have had a penalty. Corner, and they caused real problems from their set pieces, as did we later in the game. Was swept in, beg your pardon, beyond the far post by Leonard. Dykes with a free header, there's a lot of blocking off in the box, headed it back in towards the goal mouth, and it struck Dan Scarr's arm. Now, his back is turned, there's no way it's deliberate, but his arm is at full extension, horizontal from his shoulder, and it hits him on the hand. That's not a natural body position, and I think we really got away with one there not to have a penalty given against us. Now, we dug in and survived an early spell of pressure, and then in the 9th minute took the lead. Birmingham not happy with it. Palmer racing out to the flank. Did he catch his man from behind? 50-50 call, I think, to be honest. So we got lucky again there, I think. But he wins the ball, squares it, and then Ollie Rathbone just cuts in on the diagonal and rips a beautiful curler round the keeper and into the bottom right corner. Brilliant goal by Rathbone. His 3rd for Wrexham. He's only one off his most in a season in the league. The way he's taken those goals, you think, how has he scored so few throughout his career? Blinking heck, it was brilliant. And he would have a fine performance as well in midfield. And we had a good spell coming off the back of that. Laird at right back at a strange game for Birmingham. And he had a mistake in him. And one of them happened on the quarter hour. He carried the ball forwards and a really odd mishit pass. I don't know if he stubbed his toe into the ground. He just rolled it down the line straight to James McLean, who was very alert, got the ball into Dobson, who made a great run into out. and Dobson was around the back of the defence, 2-on-1. At the far post, Elliott, Lee, and acres and acres of space. Clara does well to get between man and ball and make it a difficult pass, and Dobson puts it in behind Lee, and the chance is gone. And in the 17th minute, we pay for not taking advantage of the spell when we were on top, because from a similar corner to the one that should have led to a penalty, in my opinion, they get the equaliser, Birmingham. Again, Leonard sweeping it in beyond the far post. This time, I don't think there's so much blocking off. I think Dykes just manages to lose Scar. He gets up, heads it into the goal mouth. There's a crowd in front of Arthur Okonkwo, and it comes off somebody and goes into the net. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who they've actually attributed this goal to. It looked to me like it may have come off Laird first. I think May was the one actively trying to get contact on it, and Dobson might have got the final touch, but I don't think it's an own goal. Like I said, an odd game by Laird, and shown in the fact that I think he scored, but it was an odd goal. I'm not sure he knew much about it. But anyway, I was wondering if it was offside, I've got to be honest. But looking back, no, definitely wasn't, because we kept our players on the posts. And so Birmingham had got their equaliser. It didn't feel like it at the time. Indeed, didn't feel like it throughout the match. But that actually was the scoring finished, of course. We responded really, really well and immediately put pressure on Birmingham's goal. Barnett with a tremendous cross, whipping the ball in. Rathbone attacks it, and Clara does really well to get a touch onto it and knock it beyond, but it falls from McLean, really promising a possession just outside the 6-yard box. His first touch is not an easy one, and it just gets away from him a bit, and Clara again does brilliantly, covers across the 6-yard box and gets a block in as McLean drives in his close-range shot. Now, Clara, you're going to hear his name a lot now. I would say, in all honesty, that was one of the best performances by an opposition player at the Stoke Kairos I've seen for some time. He was outstanding. I mean, absolutely magnificent. Such a high-quality defender. And it wasn't just the fact that he was getting vital touches in, vital challenges, vital clearances, but his anticipation was fantastic. And I think it's a real compliment to Ollie Palmer and Stephen Fletcher that they managed to get any change out of him whatsoever, because Clara really looked head and shoulders above the level you normally see in this league. Birmingham had the next opportunity, but their chances were starting to slowly dry up. Dykes doing well in midfield, on the charge, took it on the chest, then in his stride, controlled it on his thigh, and as it dipped, hit a shot from outside the box which just skimmed the post. And they also were starting to pose questions, moving it around. The double pivot, who of course are not their first choice because Iwata and Pike are out injured, were doing a decent job of just regulating possession, allowing the wide men to come forwards. And we did a decent job in turn, even though maybe we couldn't get, especially Barnett, into the game as much as we wanted. Hell of a lot of the game came down our left-hand side and Birmingham's right. But by the same token, Birmingham didn't get Cochrane, who's very dangerous and likes to take up advanced positions on the pitch. They didn't get him into attacking positions very often. It was actually us who had the last chance of the half, right at the end of a couple of minutes of added time. A free kick conceded, level at the edge of the penalty area on the left. O'Connor would deliver a stream of excellent set pieces. He swept this one in towards the far post. Scar gets up and heads the ball. It's blocked by his marker, who jumps with him and ricochets out to Rathbone. And Rathbone does well to tame it immediately and then hooks an instant shot in, trying to catch the keeper out, just puts it over the bar. Half-time whistle blows. You could see Rathbone, by his reaction, really thought that was an opportunity to make it 2-1 at half-time. The second half is a different game, and it was really, an absolute pleasure from a Wrexham fan's point of view to watch, because we took the game to Birmingham. The pressure increased and increased. We dominated the half, and like I said, we're very unlucky not to get the winner. And to be able to do that against Birmingham, who, despite the fact I'm saying all that, I feel after watching that game even more sure they're going to win the league. They're a class team. That is a terrific achievement. When you got Jay Stansfield, who we all know, all his media hoo-ha about his transfer fee, Stansfield standing out in the second half for the work he's doing when Birmingham haven't got the ball, really trying to pin Matt Cleworth back and get blocks him when he's playing it forwards. I think that tells us everything about how we challenged Birmingham and they had to dig deep. It's the fact that apart from having real quality, they will dig deep. That is why I'm sure they're going up. But anyway, that's by the by. Dobson had a decent first half. He has an excellent second half, and it all seems to be sort of stemming from an instant about 5 minutes into the half where he clattered into Cochrane. I'm really surprised. I'm not saying it wasn't deliberate, but he lunged at a high ball, really full-hearted and committed, didn't get there, and just slammed into Cochrane. It was sort of shoulder to shoulder, and to be fair to Cochrane, who got grief from the Wrexham fans for supposedly play acting, I think Cochrane could have made a lot more of it. I think he was quite entitled to stay in the ground for a bit because he was walloped. And I thought he helped Dobson out by not making a drama of it, to be honest. But that seemed to somehow energise Dobson, and he was all action. And the next few minutes, everything was about him. Almost immediately afterwards, he does really well to get in a tackle, and the ball's dropping for Palmer, who looks for a moment like he's one-on-one with the keeper. But again, Clara is across, who reads it brilliantly and just manages to get ahead of Palmer first and puts it out for a throw. From that throw, Dobson receives the ball from Barnett, lets it drop over his shoulder onto his left foot, and then hits a terrific dipping shot from about 25 yards. Really good, sharp parry by Astle in the Birmingham goal, getting down low to his left to push the ball away. And Wrexham are energised now. Rathbone, James and Dobson are living in Birmingham's half, putting pressure on the ball. We're not letting Birmingham come out. Our wing-backs, who, like I said, had to defend in the first half, are now getting up into those advanced positions where Wrexham wants them to be. Elliot Lee, who playing off Palmer, maybe hadn't been as involved as we'd have wanted in the first half. He flitted around and did some good things, but it wasn't quite dropping for him, and he was having to drop off to defend, which meant Palmer was creating quite a lot of loose balls, but Lee wasn't able to get close enough to capitalise. Lee is now getting involved because we are playing in Birmingham's half. Our defensive line is on the halfway line. The gaps between the lines have reduced, and Lee therefore has got options around him. He's involved in it, and he looks sharp and dangerous and is trying to prompt. The next chance we have is a bit of a fluke, if I'm honest. Ryan Barnett on the right-hand side, standing up the ball into a dangerous area at the far post, slightly gets it wrong, and it threatens to dip over the keeper and inside the far post. Astle does well to backpedal and tip it over for a corner, and then he really excels from that corner. O'Connor with a really ripped-in corner. I think Lee was, I beg your pardon. Elliot Lee rips in the corner to the near post. McLean times his run perfectly, gets great contact on it. Powerful header from 6 yards out on target, and Astle does brilliantly to adjust and get his hands to it and parry. It's an excellent, excellent save by him, as he's falling backwards into his net as well. 68th minute, Wrexham up knocking on the door, and it's time to bring on those inevitable subs. Lee and Palmer come off. Both of them have done well. Mullin and Fletcher. Fletcher off the bench. Come on. And yeah, the last 15 minutes is us battering away and not quite managing to get that goal. The initial one, chance, which we set up, was created by Fletcher and Mullin combining. Fletcher with a nice little pass from the D out to the right side of the box. Mullin drives the ball back in, and Dobson has made a great run ahead of the strikers, and he's clear on goal, but it's coming at pace. And Dobson isn't a natural finisher, and he just can't get a proper contact on it to either control it or guide it towards goal. But the pressure now is incessant. Birmingham just can't get the ball clear. May is working hard up front, but he's getting no service. And Wrexham are pushing more and more A couple of minutes later, beg your pardon, Matty James, who is really working some good passes about 25, 30 yards out. He's shifting play quickly, great vision, spotting paths for him to thread passes through, is really starting to tee things up. He plays a nice ball inside to Mullin. It was a good chance to hit it from the edge of the box. He's found space between the lines of Birmingham's midfield, maybe a little too deep. He just takes a tiny bit too long to set himself. And again, Clara sees the danger, comes charging out and blocks it. As I said in commentary, very sort of Andreas Bremer hitting the ball against Paul Parker in the 1990 World Cup semi-final. Of course, on that occasion, Germany get a goal. On this occasion, again, the German comes out on top because his deflection spins over Astle but lands on the roof of the net, and it's a corner. Wrexham continuing to push on. Next opportunity is from a free kick. O'Connor, as I said, putting some great service in, sweeps the ball in. Fletcher with a powerful header, a sharp save by Astle, but he's surrounded by players and it's not when you can catch, and he just has to push it back into the goalmouth. Cleworth lunges in, gets there first in the 6-yard box, but Davis, this time the other centre-back, with the first of two massive interventions by him, hurls himself at Cleworth's feet and manages to deflect it off target for a corner. That corner, I'm still not exactly clear exactly what happened or how it didn't go in. O'Connor again, excellent delivery, a ludicrous scramble. I mean, watching her at the time, you're thinking, I've got to be honest, those mad goalmouth scrambles rarely lead to goals because there's so many bodies in there, the ball can't get through. But on this occasion, it stayed for a moment, a yard or so outside from the goal, and you thought, oh, just a proper contact. It's got to be a goal, this. But there isn't. Cleworth meets it, heads it towards goal. It's blocked on the line. It ricochets out. Mullin, the ball's in that tempting position I just said, gets there, gets a toe poke, but a defender is able to get there just after him and again block it on the line. Absolutely remarkable. I've got to say as well that, and I'm not blaming the ref for this, to be fair. It's difficult to spot. And there was a lot of argy-bargy from set pieces. An awful lot of blocking and shirt pulling and all sorts going on. But I looking back, and I didn't notice it at the time, so like I say, hold my hands up. You can't blame the officials for this. I think it's a penalty because Rathbone is in front of Alsop, the keeper, and the keeper just grabs hold of him by the shoulders and throws him to the floor. Throws him into the net. You look back at it, there's no subtlety about it. He just grabs him and hurls him. It's a penalty. But like I said, a lot of this stuff happens, and I don't blame the ref for missing it. But I would strongly argue it is a penalty, to be honest with you. But I mean, as you can tell, that the pressure is mounting and mounting and mounting. Fletcher also has a shout for a penalty as O'Connor sweeps the ball in. He reckoned that Laird gave him a shove. Ref isn't interested in that one either. That was one that had some validity, I think. He certainly didn't really hide the shove well, Laird, should we say. And it's an indication, again, of what we're doing to Birmingham, that they make two changes within a couple of minutes of each other to slow the clock down. And it's really interesting that they bring on Bielik, another centre-back, to try and deal with the onslaught that we're putting them under. And they also put Jutkiewicz on, striker, big striker. You kind of felt, and certainly from the positions he was taking up, it was more to do with him helping out at defending set pieces than anything else. We had them in trouble, and they were having to sit in deep. Another chance in the 90th minute. Oh my word! And this was a moment. This was Scar, the good diagonal, looking to the left-hand side. Lovely ball to McLean. Perfect first touch by McLean, and he rips in the king of all crosses. A beautiful ball in. Fletcher has lost his man and is steaming in unmarked at the far post. He's judged it perfectly. There was this amazing noise, because, I mean, we all know what Fletcher's been doing off the bench at Kairas lately, and there was such a noise of anticipation. Like, we know when this happens, it's a goal to Wrexham. Fletcher scores these. And there is such, as the ball's coming in, there is such a sort of, noise of excitement. But Davis, again, with that second intervention I mentioned before, does brilliantly, comes across and just gets a tiny little flick on it to take it beyond Fletcher's reach, and I think save an almost certain goal because, yeah, like I said, this is Fletcher's speciality. There's one more opportunity in the match, and actually, funnily enough, falls to Birmingham. Great piece of work by Gardner Hickman, who I thought really worked hard. Did well in the first half, taking the game to us, and then was disciplined in the second. Does really well, a bit of a solo effort, really. Just suddenly drives through the middle, tries a snapshot from 25 yards, which doesn't go far wide. I think Okonkwo had it covered, but nonetheless, it's a good strike. And that's it. It's a 1-1 draw. Although there is one other thing to point out, which was that a couple of times in those closing moments, Birmingham, who've been under constant pressure, bring the ball under control and don't really look to go forwards. Just bring it forwards to an extent, and then just seem to want to stop the game once we've gone off into our mid-block. Let's just stop the game. We're just looking for the draw here. We're quite happy. We're not looking to pinch one, notwithstanding Gardner Hickman's efforts. And that says it all, doesn't it, really? Like I said, I think Birmingham are going to win a league. I think this game has confirmed that to me, but we were really good. We showed we're a quality side. We showed why we're up there and should have won it, and forced Birmingham, a side who were clearly going at week in, week out, looking to take the game to the opposition, dominate them and win. We forced them to think, you know what, a point's a really good return from this. This is an unpleasant night out. Let's just settle for that. And I think that's a huge compliment to us. I can't imagine that happening very much, if ever, this season with Birmingham. What a quality team they are. Right, looking at the individual performances, well, again, an indication of how well we did. Arthur Okonkwo didn't really have to do anything. As such, didn't have to make any saves, really. At the back, Scar comes in, does really well, played a couple of purposeful early passes forwards, turning the defence and giving the strikers something to chase and latch onto. And then more importantly, of course, he is such a solid defender of the penalty area, and in the first half he made a lot of good defensive actions, and physically, of course, he was able to dominate May, who is a great player, and when May was dropping off into space he was causing us problems, but when it came to a 9v5 contest, Scar was doing really, really well against him. Either side of him, I thought O'Connor was excellent, defended well, used the ball well. His set pieces were terrific. I mean, we were causing problems constantly from his delivery. Excellent performance by him. And then on the other side, Cleworth as well. Again, for so many of these players, game of two halves. First half, he did a very good defensive job. Couldn't really get out much because, like I said, Birmingham had players pinning him. But we were a different team in the second half, and he was coming forwards and he was managing to combine with Barnes. I was unlucky with that block by Davis. The wing-backs, Barnett, he's had busier games, but you got the sense that he was able to get his crosses in against Cochrane, which is a compliment. Again, Cochrane's a good fullback. So he was lively, Barnett, put in that one really great ball that in the first half that we couldn't quite capitalise upon. And on the other side, well, I mean, goodness me, for McLean to go through what he'd gone through in 48 hours before that match, and then perform like that, I thought he was outstanding. I mean, Scott Wright, again, I'm saying this about this Birmingham player is good. They're all really good. Scott Wright's a fine player, and he looked lively and quick. But all that promise would end when he actually encountered McLean, who was really, really impressive defensively. Wright gets substituted in the end, because he's not really getting anywhere against McLean. He looks promising, but he's not going to achieve anything down that flank. He's not getting his crosses in. I thought McLean was excellent defensively, and then going forwards, really delivered some good stuff. It was a bravura performance by the Wrexham skipper, regardless of the circumstances. Taking the circumstances into account, wow, terrific. As I said before, the centre mid they were excellent. Matty James, especially in the second half, when he's actually able to come forwards and show his passing range and gets high up the pitch to do so, which means he's got the scope to hurt Birmingham. Again, class on the ball. Rathbone and Dobson were just terrific, non-stop, pressing, loads of energy, picking the ball up all the time. Dobson seemed to be given the instruction to come centrally if necessary to press in the second half, and that seemed to just disrupt Birmingham a bit. Dobson creating a bit of an overload in the middle of the pitch, forcing Birmingham players into hurried releases of the ball, or indeed catching them out. And yeah, his energy was terrific. I thought he had a tremendous second half. Rathbone, I think Rathbone man of the match. There's a lot of fine performances out there, but Rathbone from the first minute to the last, regardless of the fact he scored a fine goal, was absolutely relentless. And his intensity was matched by the rest of the team in the second half. Did well in the first half, to be fair, but he was tremendous. Up front, what I said about Lee, struggled a bit to get into the game creatively in the first half, but was lively in the second. Palmer deserves a lot of kudos. He's up against two very good centre-backs, and they had a good duel, especially with Clara. And he was creating loose balls around him in the first half, but we weren't quite getting up someone next to him to capitalise. But he did really well. He held his own in a battle against strong defenders, looked to wear them down. And then, of course, the two subs we used, Mullin, very lively, kept chasing lost causes and sometimes making something of it. Lots of good movement in to out, finding little pockets of space, put a couple of decent balls into the box as well. Very lively intervention by him, and Fletcher was Fletcher. Constant threat. The moment he'd come on the pitch, he'd just looking and thinking, where's Fletcher? The defenders were thinking the same. And he got on the end of a few crosses, caused issues, just couldn't continue that ludicrous scoring run. Although it's got to be said, he's already got the club record. 4 consecutive home games, he's come on as a sub and scored. That's insane, isn't it? So, there we have it. That was a game of games, an absolute joy to watch. And Wrexham, after the poor performance against Shrewsbury, just shows that, we've got that bounce back ability. With a final score of Wrexham 1, Birmingham City 1, I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.